welcome back. All right, so that's done. The expansion draft is completed. And I want to say this straight out. Seattle has a lot of cap space. A lot. And they've built a pretty decent defense with this team. So what they've done is they've gone out, they've got a pretty good defense. Their goaltending isn't bad. Their forward group, there's some good pieces there as well. Now it's a matter of taking that cap space and doing something with it. Now, UFAs, there's only one. There's only one UFA that they took. One player who has an expiring contract that they haven't signed. So, I'll go through this in alphabetical order, and we'll talk about it. So, Hayden Flurry, I had him picked in my draft. So, if they're in black, those are picks that I had on the board yesterday. It's the same board I used yesterday for my final expansion draft picks. And Flurry was taken, and he's there. And I think that's a key thing. If somebody's there today wearing a Seattle jersey and they pose for the team picture at the end of this, they're not getting traded. So there were rumors that were out there about one player getting traded. I just can't see it. You don't bring him out there and, hey, look, he's on our team, and then a day later go, and now we've traded him. So Hayden Flurry, clearly they're high on the guy because they wouldn't have had him there in the jersey and talked about him if they weren't. Tyler Pitlick was the choice from Arizona. There's been rumors about whether or not he stays, this kind of thing. There weren't any trades announced today, which had people upset. But they can't announce any trades until tomorrow. So any of these guys who are picked, if they're going to flip them somewhere else, they can't announce that until tomorrow. They might have a deal that they've shaken hands on, but they can't announce it until tomorrow. So watch for trades to be busy. And Ron Francis basically said as much today. He said there's been a lot of chatter, and he thinks things are going to be kind of crazy over the next few days. Jeremy Lauzon was the pick from Boston. Again, I called that. Lauzon's a really good young defenseman, 24 years of age. And they picked some big defensemen, too. Will Borgen was the pick from Buffalo. He's a restricted free agent. And it's up to them whether or not they're going to keep him around or if they're going to trade him. So if you're saying, well, this guy's not going to make it. Yeah, so they're probably going to look to trade those guys for draft picks, right? So maybe Borgen ends up being one of those guys. Mark Giordano was drafted, and he was there. So Mark Giordano, in my eyes, because he's there and he's wearing the jersey and they talk to him, I can't see them then trading him right after. That doesn't make sense to me. It just, why fly a guy out there and bring him out and introduce him to your fans if you're going to trade him right after? So Giordano, it looks like going to be a centerpiece for Seattle next season. Morgan Geekie was picked from Carolina. John Quenneville was picked from Chicago. He's a UFA. And it's possible. It is possible that Quenneville doesn't sign in Seattle and he just goes as a UFA, which is fine. That happened with Vegas. It happens with every expansion draft. You look at a team's list and you go, nah. And you pick a guy that you know you're not going to see sticking around anyways. Jonas Donskoy was the pick from Colorado. Right winger. Was not there. So that's where you start asking questions like, okay, so did they pick Donskoy with the idea of playing him? Or maybe he's one that moves on too. Gavin Bairuther, restricted free agent, picked up from Columbus. Jamie Alexiak was there, wearing his jersey and looking as tall as humanly possible. He has signed a 5-year deal worth $4.6 million in cap. Congratulations to him. I'm very happy for Jamie that he's going to be playing for Seattle. We'll get a chance to see him more often now that he's in the Pacific Division, at least here in Vancouver. And I'm happy for him. I think that's good for him. He's taken that next step in Dallas, and now he's going to get that chance in Seattle too. From Detroit, they selected Dennis Chalosky, who's a restricted free agent. From Edmonton, they get and sign Adam Larson. So that's that rumored 4-year deal at $4 million per season, which it's been confirmed. That's the same contract that Edmonton was offering him that he turned down. So Larson will be on that blue line. And clearly defense was really important in this draft for them. From Florida, they draft Drieger, and they signed him to a 3-year, $3.5 million per season contract. So Drieger will be one of the players who is front and center, and he was there. So they had him in a Florida jersey. They had him in a Seattle jersey as well. LA, Curtis McDermott is the pick. Minnesota, Carson Tworinsky was the pick out of Minnesota. Out of Montreal, Cale Flurry, restricted free agents. So both guys named Flurry that were available were picked. Calle Yarncroke was picked out of Nashville. Out of New Jersey, they signed Nathan Bastian. The Islanders, Jordan Eberle was picked up, and he's there. So, and did I say signed? I meant was picked. So Eberle, he's there wearing the jersey, and he is the player of the ones that they drafted who has the most career goals in the National Hockey League. So Eberle will be one of their key forwards this upcoming season. Colin Blackwell was picked. There are rumors that he's going to be traded right back to the Rangers. They're not allowed to retain cap. The good news is there's absolutely no need to retain cap on Blackwell. It's not like he's paid a lot of money. But so right now he is a member of Seattle. For Ottawa, they drafted Joey Decord, goaltender. Carson Tworinsky was the pick out of Philadelphia. He's a restricted free agent, and it's quite possible Dave Haxtell said, you know what, I like this guy. He's got untapped potential, or maybe he's a guy that gets flipped too. For Pittsburgh, they did take Brandon Tanf, and he was there. And his interview might have been the highlight of the day because he talked about his headshot and the look in his headshot. Because it was the first thing I thought of was, well, now he gets a new headshot. So that's good. Hopefully they don't find something that looks quite as deer caught in headlights. That picture is the ultimate deer caught in headlights image. So now that he's moved on to Seattle, unless they're going to just Photoshop that picture and just put like a Seattle jersey on him, he should get a new headshot this year. But Tanev is a very personable guy, and I think he'll be quite popular in Seattle. Alexander True, who's a restricted free agent, is picked up by San Jose. And the restricted free agents, of course, this is a key thing. You don't lose those guys for nothing. Other teams can put in offer sheets for their services. There wasn't anybody that they picked who's going to get an offer sheet, I don't think, because there isn't anybody here that I think would a team would try to steal them from Seattle. So some smart picks here. Vince Dunn, who's also a restricted free agent, is picked. He was not there. And I thought, he's not signed and he's not there. I do wonder how long Vince Dunn is going to be a member of this team. Because if you look at their picks, and I will take a look at this after tomorrow. I don't want to look at them now because I think there's going to be some deals to move some guys out. And then after we can look at, who they've got because they have too many defensemen. There are too many NHL level defensemen here. So it's possible that they get Dunn and maybe they flip him because they were looking at Tarasenko and there were rumors that they might flip Tarasenko. So maybe there were better deals for Dunn than there were for Tarasenko. Yanni Gourde is the pick out of Tampa. So good news, Bolts fans. You're currently under the salary cap. You don't have enough players to constitute a team under contract, but you're currently under the salary cap. Jared McCann is the pick out of Toronto. Look at it this way. And I heard this on Tim and Friends today, so I'll say it here. Basically, in order to keep Kerfoot, make sure they didn't lose Hall in the expansion draft, they traded a 7th-round pick and a prospect to make sure they didn't lose those players. So rather than look at it as McCann comes in and McCann leaves, just say, you know what, they trade a 7th-rounder and a prospect, and they make sure they don't lose Kerfoot and they don't lose Hall. So that's likely the way Toronto's looking at it, right? Vancouver loses Cole Lind. He's a restricted free agent. He was the last one that was actually announced, which I thought was weird. I thought the way that they announced these was weird because it wasn't in alphabetical order, and I thought you start with the lesser-known guys, and you build your way up to the bigger names. The 6 guys that were there in Seattle jerseys, I thought it should have been the last 6 picks, right? These are our guys. Vitek Vanacek was the pick from Washington, goaltender, and Mason Appleton out of Winnipeg, which surprised no one. Appleton had been the pick the whole way through. So by my count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14. I got 15 out of 30 right. So not bad. Not bad. There are some that I saw here and I thought, you know what? I should have gone that other way. Carson Soucy is one that came to mind. Adam Larson was another. I would not have picked Cale Flurry. That one caught me off guard. But again, there weren't any side deals made in order to pick these players. But that doesn't mean that Seattle didn't have a side deal picked up where they could trade players out in exchange for whatever they want back. So look for those to be announced tomorrow. We'll be here to report on those trades if/when they happen. I thought this was kind of fun. It was a fun live stream as well. Thank you to the mods for doing the yeoman's work that you guys always do. And new mods fit in very, very well. It is noticed. I do pay attention to the chat here and there. My wife reads out off the chat, but I do pay attention here and there and see what's going on the screen. But yeah, this I think they did pretty well. I think the blue line they did really well. Just look at it this way. If your top 6 has Flurry, Giordano, Lauzon, Alexiak, Larson, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Susie. That's not too shabby, and that's not including Dunn as well. So right there, you think one of those guys has to be traded out. So we will see some trades. We will see some guys get moved. And yeah, Seattle's not done. This is just the start. It to me would be the equivalent of, you know, looking like 2 shifts into a hockey game and going, well, these guys, that's it, we're done. That's it, it's over, it's finished. Well, look, it's just not going to win. So it is just the beginning. And I thought Seattle had an impressive start. Was it anticlimactic? Yeah, probably. You know, these picks were leaked out. Does that affect the amount of people in the live stream and the amount of excitement? Absolutely. It absolutely did. But it is the final expansion draft we'll ever have in the NHL in all likelihood. At least in my lifetime, I would think it's the final one. So I kind of enjoy this, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of this team takes shape. And maybe over the next couple of days, being able to do a quick mock-up and say, so here's where the roster stands right now. And Ron Francis even said that at the entry draft, they could be picking with a player at 2, a guy who could play right away next year. Well, that perked my attention up because I thought, well, the only 2 guys in this draft that I would think are absolute slam dunks to be able to play next year might be Beniers and Power. So, right? So if Power doesn't get taken first, I would think Seattle takes him second. And if Power gets taken first, it's got to be Beniers that's second. But we'll see. Maybe Eklund is seen as NHL ready as well by the Seattle Kraken. So, fun team. I did put that on the side of the board when we were doing the live stream because it was like, I got to get Seattle on there somewhere, but this isn't actually metal, so it won't stick there. But, yeah, so this was kind of fun. So thanks for everybody who came out. And again, I know there's people who are complaining and they're upset because this was all handled wrong by the NHL. Good news. They're never doing it again. That's it. So it's all finished. I'm sure that Gary Bettman, when all the names leaked out, he was PO'd. I am sure that he was. But, you know, this is the collective bargaining agreement. This is the deal that they had made in terms of the expansion. And so, you know, the NHL at the end probably has just themselves to blame on this, but it's done. And the excitement about this team going forward is there. I know there are a lot of people in Seattle getting into, you know, this whole hockey thing and what's going on with this hockey team. And I thought some of the faces they had there, it was kind of fun to see them, especially Gary Payton. Man, that, you know, he's a lot older than I am. He looks like he could go out and play basketball right now. Gary Payton looks like he could go out and play right now. You bring back the Sonics tomorrow, Gary Payton can go out and play. And he was one of the best players I ever saw play. So, yeah, I used to follow basketball quite closely back in the late 80s, early 90s. And, you know, Gary Payton was one of the most intense and fantastic basketball players. Probably would have got more attention than he did by playing in Seattle rather than one of the, like the Lakers, for instance. But, yeah, that was fun to see him there and see Sean Kemp and see everybody else, too. Yeah, it was entertaining. It was different than the Vegas expansion. I mean, the Vegas expansion, you've got all these, you know, explosions and fireworks, and it's this big show with the showgirls. And in Seattle, you have dead fish. So it's okay. All right, when they're pulling when they're pulling a player's name out of a fish carcass, I was like, oh man, if this goes badly, that's what it's all going to trace back to. And I thought, you know, there's so many memes being born out of this draft, unintentionally or maybe intentionally. I don't know. You guys can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Pulling names out of a dead fish. I guess if the NHL entry draft is ever in Seattle, that's how we announce them, right? You bring the dead fish up, you plop it down on the podium, and you cut her open and you pull the name out. And you nauseate some of the crowd, but others would be cheering the picks. And then you cook the fish and, I don't know, get creative. All right, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video, and it's official. They've got players, and it's all done. So now we turn our attention to the entry draft after the craziness of the next couple of days of potential trades take place. And remember, at the draft table, we often see trades as well. So looking forward to that. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.